Oh, Shabbat Shalom and greetings to, let me first greet everybody that's in the chat. Greetings to you. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Shabbat Shalom and greetings to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered into the four corners of the earth according to Bible prophecy by captivity, bondage, oppression. Greetings to you. Greetings also to those that are now the bloodline but are still suffering from oppression and bondage and exploitation, and also want to be grafted in to the Israelite nation. Greetings to you. Greetings also to those that are tired of the unrighteousness and filth and corruption upon this earth and want to see an end of it. Greetings also to you. Double blessings on those working in the healthcare field, trying to save lives, even at the risk and expense of their own. Greetings and blessings to them. Blessings also to those who pick up garbage in this disease-filled world in which we live, to keep our places clean and are underpaid to do so. Also, those that make deliveries in all types of days and all types of weather for our convenience. Double blessings on those that are working hard to deliver little boys, little girls, and teenagers from the grips of the slavery of the sex trade operations, and curses upon those that support child pornography and sex trade operations. And finally, double blessings on those that work for the homeless, of which in America, there are 500,000 at least, not to mention the hundreds of thousands, even millions that are around the world that are homeless in places like Asia and Europe and Africa and India and many other places. Blessings to those that are working to ease those situations, and also to the people themselves. May the Most High look upon them and give them mercy and grace and an eternal home. So, we have been studying the book of Revelation, and we started last week, Revelation chapter 13. We have finished 12 complete chapters of the book of Revelation. We've learned a lot, as we always do when we study the book of Revelation, and we're now going into chapter 13 in the second half of chapter 13. And before we do, as usual, I'd like to review some things that will help us as we get ready to go into this second half. The thing is, as we talk about often, and as I want to say right now, we need to, I would suggest, and put it that way, my suggestion from the Spirit of the Most High is that we understand that the earth, as we now see it, the institutions of the earth, the businesses, the governments, the religions, the news media, the politics, are built on lies and philosophies that are lies. That everything that you see is based on a lie. That the commerce of the earth is lies. Everything. Because the Bible showed us, as we studied last week, that Asatan deceives the whole world, and that the world follows powers that he's given power, seat, and authority. Matter of fact, let's take a look at that. This is what we looked at last week in Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. And we saw Revelation chapter 13 in verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And this is the part: the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And this is the next part. And all the world wondered after the beast. So all the world wondered after an entity that receives power and seat and authority from the devil. And this is where I want to begin tonight, because the mindset that we are in when we're seeking the truth of the word of the Most High is a mindset whereby we all have to learn things and also unlearn things. Because all of us, if the Bible says that the devil deceives the whole world, That would have to mean that you and I have been deceived. That if we come to knowledge of truth and understanding, we are coming out of deception and darkness. Okay, we're coming out of deception and darkness. Now, because of the depth of the deception and darkness we have been in, most people will never get out of it, unfortunately. That is why Revelation chapter 12, verse 17, which we studied, is also important. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of the Messiah, Yahweh Shai. Now wait, let's just review that. First of all, it's pretty plain. It said the dragon, which we know is the devil, was wroth or enraged at the woman. What woman? The woman we saw in the beginning of the chapter. They had a crown of 12 stars and the sun and the moon at her head and feet. That represented the chosen people of Israel. 12 stars, 12 tribes, 12 apostles. Represented the chosen people of Israel. And the dragon was enraged at this woman and was at war. That's a serious thing, isn't it? At war with her children. The children of Israel, the dragon is at war with them. And you can know who they are, it said, because they obey the commandments of Yahweh. And they have the testimony or the witness of Messiah. If they don't have both, they're not the remnant. Many people claim to obey the commandments of, I read 10 commandments, people will be ready to tell you that. But they're not understanding what this says. You have to have both in order to be accepted as the remnant. You have to not only keep the commandments, but you have to have the testimony or the witness of Messiah. And we talked about what is the witness of Messiah. The Bible tells us it is the Father's righteousness, which is the gospel. That's the witness of Messiah. The Father's righteousness. I am not ashamed, remember, of the gospel of Messiah. For it is the power of Yah unto salvation, unto all that believe, to the Jew first, also to the Greek. For therein, that is, in the power of Yah from Messiah, therein is the righteousness of Father Yah revealed. That is the witness of Messiah. In other words, when Messiah came to earth as a man, he came to bear witness of his Father. He came to bear witness of his Father's truth. That is why he always was telling the disciples and the scribes and Pharisees, I came to do my Father's will. Whatever my Father shows me, what I do. The words that I speak are not mine, it's the Father's. The work that you see me do is not me, it's the Father that dwelleth in me. He kept saying that. And it was driving them crazy to the point where they killed him. So the witness of Messiah is the perfect righteousness of his Father. And it says the remnant has that righteousness. It has that righteousness because it is only by that righteousness that we obey the commandments of the Father. We cannot obey the commandments of the Father without the glory of his Spirit. We cannot. And we cannot buy that righteousness. You cannot buy that Spirit except by repentance. By repentance and surrender to the Messiah who represents the Father. And we talked about this past Wednesday night, we talked about the fact that there's going to be a righteous revolution. We are being prepared for a righteous revolution. We talked about how with Fred Hampton and this movie that came out, the Judas and the Black Messiah, how the FBI was concerned about a rise of a Black Messiah. And in that vein, they killed Malcolm X and they killed Fred Hampton, concerned about the rise of a Black Messiah. And I submitted to you that there will be a black Messiah. And they should be concerned, but they won't be able to stop him. He is going to have a real revolution, not on the plane of this government, of this earth, but on the righteous plane of the Father. And we gave many scriptures for that. Okay, many. And so the righteousness of the Father is being offered to human beings. It has nothing to do with a church or a building or denomination, because they're all, again, based on what? Lies. Many people can't handle that truth. But I'm not here to, my job as a messenger for the Most High's word. You can believe that or not. It's not, I already know. If I was to say I wasn't sent to teach the word of the Most High, if he didn't ordain me to do it, I'd be lying to you. And really, it doesn't matter to me who believes it or not. The people that hear my voice and hear the teaching, they know whether it's true or not. That's who I'm talking to. Okay? I don't ask for nobody's money. I'm not trying to build any building. I don't need you to buy me a plane. You know what I'm saying? It's not even about that. It's too important to talk about that stuff, man. This is all about the Father's righteousness. And so we are seeking to be ambassadors for the Messiah. We talked about this, right? We're seeking to be ambassadors for the Messiah. Why? Because Father's he's trying to tell people, he's going to destroy this place that's built on lies. It's going to be destroyed, completely annihilated, with nothing left that reminds us of it, except the marks in his son's hands and the marks on his head and in his side and his feet. That's the only thing that can remind us of what was here before. Other than that, you will not know it was ever here, because he's going to destroy it. It's going to be a violent overthrow of this government. That's a righteous revolution. And the guns we're not going to need guns. Fred Hampton them took up guns. The Black Panthers took up guns. And even though they had the right to do it, obviously it failed. We talked about Khalid Muhammad. He said the bullet or the bullet. He did not die a natural death, but he died. And this movement is dead. No, this is on a plane that's higher than humankind. This is on a supernatural plane. And we talked about Ephesians 6. We talked about Ephesians 6. Verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So guns is not going to help. And we read Ezekiel chapter 39, where the Most High, through his prophet, he told his prophet to tell him, he said, tell Gog and Magog, I'm going to knock the weapons out their hands. It's not going to help them. So we are ambassadors to tell people, you know what? It's good for you to surrender now. It's good for you to receive the Father's righteousness now. You see, brethren, let me just share something with you. Okay. Messiah told the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. Remember what he told her? He said, whoever drinks the water out of Jacob's well is going to thirst again. He said, but the water I give you shall be in a well of water springing up into everlasting life. That, the Bible tells us in the same Gospel of John, is the Father's Spirit. Like a well of water springing up into everlasting life. What does that mean? You see, we talked about what the issues are in this war between Messiah and Asatan, and between the spirit of darkness and the spirit of perfect righteousness. We talked about what is the issue. The issue is Father is the Most High. Asatan wants to be the Most High. And he has a doctrine that man can be God. And that, yes, he can give you eternal life. You will never die. You can sin against the Most High and still live. That's his doctrine. No matter what you do, you can go, your spirit's going to go and you're going to live forever. And everything could be God. That's his doctrine. Now, either you believe it or not, that's your business. I'm here to tell you there's a God in heaven. There's a Father, and there's only one. And not everybody serves him. In fact, he only gave himself to one group of people. And he, through that people, intends to share himself with the world. To the Jew first. Okay, he intends to share himself, his knowledge of himself with the earth through that people. And that's what's going on right now. Okay. So these are the issues. And that is why, have you ever noticed like a person, you see certain people in the earth that are considered billionaires. Like I never counted their money, so I can't verify whether they're billionaires or not. I can only tell you what the news, which we know lies to us, is saying to us. So like a Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, right? These are billionaires in the earth, right? And yet, and then you have like in the Senate of the United States, okay, all the senators in the United States serve 6-year terms. They get the best health insurance. They get 6-figure salaries. And when they retire, they get 6-figure pensions, right? They're living nice up in there. And they got all kind of tentacles with all kind of corporations. They set for life. They got to connect on this earth. Okay, they got to connect. That's why they want to be there all the time, you see. So they have that. All right? That's their reward. But you ever notice about people like that? If you've ever met, like I said, I used to be in financial planning. I used to do financial work. And I met a lot of rich people, documented rich people. And the thing that they have in common, they're never satisfied. They never have enough. You would think, if somebody said to you, I'm gonna cut you a check for 50 million. You would say to yourself, man, I could live for life on that. I wouldn't need anything else. But that's wrong. People never have enough, especially when they've crushed heads and built corporations and did all of that stuff to get there. They never have enough. And you ever understand why? You ever thought about why don't they ever have enough? Why is it never enough power, never enough money, never enough influence to satisfy them? You ever think about that? You know why that is? Because their father is not satisfied. You see, the devil wants to be the most high. And so, unless he's the most high, he will never be satisfied. And he will never be the most high. So all of his subjects are like him. They will never be satisfied. They want to be gods, but they're not there yet. And they'll never get there. Sad thing, isn't it? But that's what it is. So people in power will never have enough power. And people with money will never have enough money. They'll never be satisfied because their father is not satisfied. Okay? Their father is not satisfied. The devil. And he'll never be satisfied until he's put into the lake of fire. That'll be it. Same with them. Okay? So that's the issues we're dealing with right now. And it's getting more intense as we get closer. You see, brothers and sisters, all of us, you and me, if you're watching this, you were born at the time of the end. You were born and brought into existence in the last few years of this age. And your existence in the last few years of this age is no accident. You're going to play a role. Now, what that role is up to you. But you're going to play a role, just like the people that were born and alive when Messiah walked the earth in that 3.5-year ministry. They were born and alive at the time of the Father's Son's advent. They saw him. Some of them touched him. They ate with him. Many of them were healed by him. He was the hope of Israel. And he still is. Because he became the sacrifice for the sins of his people. Now, you and I are here at the end, where this age of sin is going to come to a complete end. Where the Father is getting ready to rise up and destroy this whole thing with a violent and loud overthrow. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed on both sides. But the thing about the Father's side is his people will come back. His people will come back and live forever. Our Satan's people will die and raise up for judgment to be tossed into the lake of fire. Okay? And ambassadors for Messiah are saying, surrender to the Father, surrender to the truth, and be satisfied with the peace that he gives you, in the righteousness perfection that he gives you. You see, people try to misconstrue the words because that's a Jesuit move to try to misconstrue the words to confuse people. Some people say, well, you think you perfect in righteousness and you think everybody gonna be perfect, you're never going to attain perfection. They don't want to really tell the truth. They want to make, confusion. So let me make it clear again. We are not perfect. Our Father in heaven is perfect. His son Messiah is perfect. And they cover us with their perfection. Let me make that plain. It's not me that's perfect. It's my Father's righteousness that's perfect, and he gives it to me. I did not earn it. I don't deserve it. But that's how I'm accepted to him. Okay? So did somebody say, you think you're perfect? No. I think my Father in heaven's perfect. And I think he covers me with his own perfection to cover my defects. He covers my defects. He takes off the dirty, filthy coat and he puts on a white one, a perfect one. And he gives me a crown that I don't deserve, that you don't deserve. He gives it to us out of grace. That power of righteousness and grace is what causes us to want to obey him, to desire to be with him. You see, Father's people are satisfied that he's the king. We're satisfied that Messiah is his representative. We have no problem with that. And we're thankful for the righteousness he gives us. But our Satan's people, not so much. Because they want glory and they're never going to be satisfied. Okay, they're never going to be satisfied. They want glory and they'll never be satisfied. So to see my Father get it or Messiah get it burns them up because they get no credit. And they can't stand that. They have no control. And they really can't stand that. So we're coming to the understanding that everything in this earth is based in lies. It's all a lie. Okay? Like sometimes, listen, my wife and I look at a movie, right? And somebody's playing the role of the good guy and somebody's playing the role of the bad guy, right? And it starts to get personal where my wife would think, oh, that's such a nice person. And I said, remember, they're acting. We don't know what kind of people they are. This is what they're acting like. Okay? That's the truth, right? They're acting. Because everything we're seeing is fake. The people they're playing roles that's not them. And they get so good at it, they'll give an Oscar for it. You understand? They get so good at doing it. It's so engrossing, they get a reward for that. But that's not them. It's never them. You understand? And the whole earth, that's a object lesson of the whole world. The whole system is not what it appears. It's always a lie. When politicians say something to you, they're lying. They're always lying. Okay? Always. And all things that are based in lies come from the father of lies, who is the enemy of all righteousness. And the reason I bring all that up is to say that if their lies and this book is truth, okay, that means that this book is going to contradict, listen now, it's going to contradict everything that you see. And that has to be a basic understanding. If you're going to be a follower of this book and the God of this book, which I believe is Yahweh Most High, Yahweh of Israel, if you're going to be that follower, if you're going to be with that crew, you have to understand this book is going to contradict everything you're being told outside of this book. It's going to contradict it. So that if I was to just meet somebody on the street and they don't read the Bible and I say to them, you know, the Roman Catholic Church is the great whore, they'll probably get angry at me. They definitely won't believe me, right? Or if I said to them, the flood rearranged the earth. You believe that, they'll say? You may believe that. See what I'm saying? Because the earth and the Bible are at odds. Because the earth is run by lies. The Bible is run by truth and righteousness, in my estimation. Let me put it that way. Because not everybody believes that. Okay? Even my man Khalid Muhammad, who I respect, let me just show you how far we have come since him. And he's recent. He's like in the last 20 years, right? But he was saying, you know, there were people that lived before Adam, before the creation story, and we need to know about that. See, that's deception right there. And I believe he was sincerely deceived, just like Malcolm X was. What do we care about anything that existed before Adam when our problem started with Adam? You understand what I'm saying? What do we care about anything that might have been? See, that's just a distraction to take you off the issue. The issue is what happened with Adam. That's the issue. Okay. And even that, they get, you know, all misconstrued. Well, the serpent had sex with Eve. It does not say that. But that's what we're dealing with. So whenever you are seeking the Father of truth, it's always going to contradict everything that's out here, man. So that when you seek the word, it's going to tell you things that are fantastical, that you be like, whoa, really? But it's what it says. And when we're in Revelation 13 in this second half, it's going to tell you things that, you know, when you look at CBS, NBC, CNN, if they were to hear this, what I'm saying to y'all tonight, they'll say, that guy's crazy. They will tell you, that Negro right there is out of his mind. They will tell you that for what we're going to read tonight. Okay? But if you're among those that have been suffering in this system, if you are among those that can see how corrupt this is, if you're among those that don't believe, you know, there's really a conservative and liberal, that they're just made up, that there's no Republican and Democrat, there's just corporate. If you understand that, you have a chance at seeing this. Okay? Because everything that we're being told is a lie. And unless we're following the Father of all righteousness, see, you got the father of lies and you got the Father of righteousness. The Creator Yahweh, the God of Israel, is the God of righteousness and truth. He's the only one. I was just, you know, I like to listen to Malcolm. I listen to Khalid Muhammad. I listened before even they had this movie. I was listening to Fred Hampton. I like to listen to their speeches because it wasn't necessarily, I don't listen to their speeches because I believe everything they say. I listen to their speeches, brethren, because there is some truth in it now, but it's not just that. It's the sincerity. It's the sincerity, and it's the desire to help their people or to help people that are suffering that I hear. That's what I'm listening to. Okay. I'm listening. I'm hearing that. I'm hearing that in their spirit. So that I can look at Malcolm and listen to him and understand, man, there's things that he just didn't know that I now know and that people now are knowing that he just didn't know then. Or Khalid Muhammad, the anger and the righteous indignation in his voice and the conviction that he gave to our oppressors. I hear that. I hear that. But there are things he didn't understand, which the Bible shows us. Okay? Khalid Muhammad thought anybody with melanin served the true God. Now, that's not true. Just based on the Bible itself, if you understand that the Israelites were melanated, then you understand that Judas was melanated. You understand? So they couldn't all be saying that Judas was melanated. You understand that the Sanhedrin was melanated and they turned Messiah in. So you can't just say everybody melanated serves the true God. You can't say that. Okay? Or that everything that's not white Jesus Christianity is going to be true. No. There's only one true God. He is the God of this book. He's the God of Israel. The only one. And he only showed himself, as we saw in this book. He's only showed himself to one people. And he intends that that people should show him to the earth. The same way Messiah came and showed himself, showed the Father through himself to Israel. He expects Israel to show the Father through Messiah to the earth. The reason the earth has never got it is because Israel had to be scattered and put in slavery. And when Israel was in slavery, the whole earth is enveloped in darkness. And that's what Revelation showed us when we went through the seven trumpets. Israel enslaved means world in darkness, because Father ordained that they should give the earth himself, his truth. And that's what this awakening is about. As a matter of fact, let me show you. Let me show you something. Another principle I'd like to share with you, if you bear with me, before we get into Revelation 13 again, in Deuteronomy chapter 30. I want to show you, and this is not just here. In fact, let me give you two witnesses for this. Deuteronomy chapter 30 will be one, and I'm going to go to Jeremiah. I'm going to go to Jeremiah 30 for the other one, because they're both 30, and it makes sense, right? So I'm going to go Deuteronomy 30 and Jeremiah 30, and I'm going to show you the same principle in each area, okay? So I'm going to read from verse 1. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 8, okay? From verse 1 down to verse 8 of Deuteronomy chapter 30. Okay, watch now. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither Yahweh thy most high have driven thee. Okay, so he says, now this is, let me just set the stage now. This is Moses' last words to the nation of Israel. Deuteronomy represents his last words to the nation of Israel, his last instructions, his last prophecies, his last admonitions. After this, in fact, at the end of this book, you see Moses going to a mountain to die. He spoke all the words that we read in Deuteronomy to the nation of Israel, and he did it representing the Father. So the Father gave him what to say, and he gave it to Israel before he was going to be put to rest. Okay, at age 120. And these are part of the word. So here it said, it shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, you Israelite nation, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee. That was Deuteronomy 28. Okay. He set blessings in the beginning of Deuteronomy 28 if we obeyed, and he said curses if we disobeyed. And we, of course, receive both. We understand. As a matter of fact, some of us are awakening just by reading the curses of Deuteronomy 28, because this is what the Bible does. And the principle, another principle is, it describes something that can only come from one or mean one people. Like, in other words, it describes, for example, a religion that comes out of the Roman Empire, that's based in Rome, that has power in one man. Now, we know that's the Roman Catholic Church. It never says the word Roman Catholic, but it gives you all the hints to tell you there's only one that fits that description. Well, in Deuteronomy, there's a group of people that look like Egyptians, that have been taken into slavery by having chains about their necks, by having their women raped and their children sold. And they were taken into slavery. It was chattel slavery, because in the Bible, even slavery is only for 7 years. But this curse, these people would be permanently in slavery. Nobody would redeem you. And you would be taken into slavery like that by ship. How many people does that represent? See, that's what I'm saying. So it tells you who they are. It gives you the description. It only fits one people. Okay? And it's not them Ashkenazis from Europe. It's not them. They don't look like ancient Egyptians. They weren't taken into chains in slavery. They didn't come by ship. Their children that weren't sold. Okay? And their women weren't raped and by their masters. That wasn't them. But we know who it is. So that's when it says here in 30, when all these things come upon you, Israel, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you. So this is saying, after all of that, something's going to happen. After all of that, something's going to happen. What? Okay, so we said, and thou shalt call them to mind. So in other words, after we get the blessing and then we survive the curse, something's going to come to our mind about the blessing and the curses. And thou shalt call them to mind, watch, among all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Most High have driven you. So this people, as part of the curse, were driven into other nations, into their enemies' lands to be servants and slaves. And while they're in their enemies' lands, this blessings and curses will come upon their minds, and they'll remember that this was told to them. In other words, what we call it now is an awakening. And even the lying media is trying to use that term. You ever heard that? Woke. They don't know nothing about what woke is, but Israel does because of this here. Okay? So they're trying to steal it. That's what they always try to do. They steal what Israel does and try to turn it into something else to confuse you. You hear this? People are getting woke. You don't know nothing about it. If media is telling you they don't know nothing about it, they lying to you. This is woke right here. And it shall come to pass when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you. Deuteronomy 28. And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahweh thy Most High, not white Jesus, not Buddha, not Muhammad, not Allah, no, Yahweh, the God of Israel, drove you into these nations. What happened? Let's keep reading. I tell you, we're going to read the verse 8. And thou shalt return unto Yahweh thy Most High. So when we're awakening, part of the awakening is us returning. That goes with another script, many scriptures, but here's one that you've probably heard before. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Same thing. Part of the awakening. And shalt return unto Yahweh thy Most High, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul. What's going to happen? That then, once we return back, once we awaken and return back, what happens after that? Then Yahweh thy Most High will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations where the Yahweh thy Most High have scattered thee. Many scriptures on that. We're going to talk about that and do Jeremiah for a second, but many scriptures, all the prophets talk about that. Gathering us back together from the four corners of the earth where we've been scattered in our enemies' lands. Okay? That's where we are right now. The awakening process has begun. People are now awakening to where we were, because our enemies don't want us to know where we come from. Our enemies only want us to know that we came here on slave ships and that we're supposed to be obedient to them. And they're doing us a favor by taking the chains off some of us. And let some of us entertain them and get paid millions of dollars to sing, dance, bounce a ball, tackle, box, run, jump. Some of us could get paid for entertaining them a lot of money, right? Make us think we all going somewhere. Court jesters did the same thing, though. The real freedom is not in the US dollar. It's in the perfect righteousness of the Father that promised us these things. Wait. Verse 4. If any of them be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Most High gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee, no matter where we are, no matter what country. And we all over. There are Israelites in China. There are Israelites in Japan. There are Israelites all over the countries of South America, Central America, North America, Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia. They got a whole island in the Philippines called what? Negros. Come on now. They got a whole island called Negros. Where do you think that come on now. I'm trying to tell you. When he said the four corners of the earth, he was not joking. And he said, wherever you are, there's going to be an awakening, and I'm going to bring you back. Okay? And Yahweh thy Most High will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed. That's the second return of the Messiah. That's what we read about in Revelation chapter 19. Wait till we get there. And when we talk about in Ezekiel chapter 39, we already read that. We're going to read it again, though. And all of those other chapters that reference the same thing. That's when he's going to do this, because Messiah getting ready to lead a violent overthrow and revolution of this system. A righteous revolution. Where all the suffering, whether you white or red or yellow, and you've been suffering and been oppressed, going to get a new life. And led by the Israelite Messiah. Isn't that beautiful, man? Yes, it is. He shall bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. I want you to understand something. When Moses is saying this, they are not in the land yet. He's speaking future. This is prophetic. He's talking future. The day he was giving the nation, our fathers, this word, they had not crossed the Jordan yet. They wouldn't cross the Jordan until Joshua led them, but they were about to go. So he's telling you future. He said, I'm going to bring you back in the land with your fathers possession. He's talking to people that hadn't even been there yet. He's talking about us way back in the future, way up in the future, where we are. Okay. He will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy Most High will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Most High with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy Most High, watch this part. This is very important. This is what the whole thing is about right here. Watch this. And Yahweh thy Most High will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. What does that mean? The curses you saw in Deuteronomy 28. The curses that prophets have placed on Israel for centuries, from Isaiah to Zechariah to Jeremiah to Ezekiel. Those curses that came on us and caused us to be taken into our enemy's land will now be on our enemies. So when you see the curses that he talks about upon Israel, talk about them being scattered, talk about them being led away captive, that is coming to our enemies. What did he say? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. That's Revelation 13, right? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. That is why me and anybody like me are just ambassadors for Messiah. We beseech you in Messiah's stead, be ye reconciled to the Father. Especially those that know what their fathers did and what their fathers are doing now, right? So you have an opportunity to come and be reconciled before it's too late. I told you 2 witnesses. Jeremiah chapter 30. So I'm saying all that to say, when we read what we're going to read in Revelation 13, it's going to sound crazy. But I'm trying to tell you it's the truth, because everything around you is the real lie. Okay, everything around you is the real lie. This word is the truth. And what I tell people all the time that listen to these Bible studies here, pray to your Father. Go to your secret place, your bathroom, your closet, your room by yourself. Pray to your Father and ask him, is that crazy raw Hebrew remnant telling me the truth? Is he telling the truth or not? And whatever his spirit brings to you, go ahead, man. That's all I'm saying. Go back in his word and look it up for yourself. Go ahead. That's why I record this. Go look up the scriptures for yourself. Okay? Go do that. Because you know what? It's the Father's Spirit that brings people to the truth. Not me. If my words connect with somebody, it's not because of me. See, I learned from my teacher. My teacher is Messiah. And he said everything he did came from the Father. So, man, come on. It can't be me then. It's got to be the Father. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 30 now. Watch. Jeremiah 30, 1 through 11. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, thus speaketh Yahweh Most High of Israel. So now, in this instance, you have a prophet, Jeremiah. He's actually a Levite priest. And he gets a spirit on him from the Father. See, a prophet, if you look up the word in the Hebrew, it means an inspired person. So he's inspired by the Father's Spirit to speak a word. Just like Peter or Kapha said, we don't follow cunningly devised fables. Holy men of Yah spake as they were moved by the set apart Spirit, the Holy Spirit of righteousness. Spiritu de justicia from the Father. See that? So now he's receiving the Spirit to speak to Israel. Watch. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, thus speaketh Yahweh Most High of Israel, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. First commandment he's giving him now. He's saying, whatever you hear in the Spirit tell you, write it. Okay? For lo, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith Yahweh. So again, he's saying, I'm going to bring them back from their captivity, Israel and Judah, the ones that are scattered with the chains on their neck, the ones that was in the holds of these ships, the ones that would not be let go. I'm going to bring them back. And I want you to write this in a book, my priest prophet. Praise the Most High, okay? I'm going to bring again the captivity of my people, Israel and Judah. Now, again, I like to comfort you Gentiles because I know you're all concerned, and most of y'all should be, because yeah, you feeling that guilt, and that's all good. You know, if you feel guilt and you still here, you good. You're all right, because most of your brothers and your cousins feel guilt and then deny it. You know what I'm saying? So if you still here listening, you good. You're in good shape. So don't worry, because he wants you to be saved too. But you got to acknowledge the truth. Who's the true Israelites? Now the truth. Tell the truth now. That white man, that Caucasian man with the beard and the long hair and the sandals, that ain't Messiah. Acknowledge the truth now. Be honest. All right? That's all. Be in the truth and you're going to be all right. Repent of your sins and the sins of your fathers and you can make it. Okay? So I want to comfort y'all with that. I don't want y'all to think that all y'all going to be lost. That's not the Father's object. The Father's object is to save people, not to kill them. The only ones he's going to kill are the ones that are believing lies. He's going to kill them because he's going to kill the father of lies and everything that's a seed of a lie. He's going to kill it. I'm trying to tell you the truth now. But those that repent of lies, he's going to save. He wants to save people. It's not like his purpose to create human beings from Adam and kill Adam's children. That wasn't the purpose. The purpose is to restore perfect righteousness on the earth that he made that's been stolen. That's what he's doing. Okay? Earth was stolen from him. And so he's just getting back his property. And he's going to repopulate it with the righteous people that he made when he made Adam. That's all. That's all this is about. And it's going to be in perfect harmony, perfect balance. I just love it, man. It's coming. And that's why I'm looking forward to it every day. I see these lying behind politicians, lying behind news media, lying people. And people out here suffering, man. And people just steady lying, and they never have enough power, and they never have enough money, and they crushing people and don't give a crap. You think they care? They don't care. Okay? They don't care. But Yah does. And he's already started, and he about to show some more how much he cares. Okay. I will cause them to return to the land that I gave their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith Yahweh, We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. What is Jacob's trouble? That's when Jacob had his family, his little kids, his servants, and they left Laban, and they were on their way back to the father's land to see his father. They were on their way back to see his father. His father was still alive. See, Jacob's father lived to be 180 years old. Jacob left his father's house when he was 40 to go to Laban. Stayed with Laban for 20 years. Now he's coming back. He's 60 years old. Okay. And he's coming back to his father. But on his way, he ran into his brother. And his brother was intent on killing him. And he knew his brother was righteous in his desire to kill him. Jacob knew this. But Jacob sincerely repented of his sin. He prayed to the God of his father, the God of his father Isaac, and the God of his grandfather Abraham. He prayed to them for forgiveness because he knew he did wrong. He knew he did wrong. And he knew that unless he had the protection of the God of his father, him and his little children and his wives and his servants were going to be slaughtered. And so he wrestled that night in prayer. Father, being merciful to him, sent Messiah. Messiah came. Jacob was so stressed, he thought Messiah was an enemy, there to kill him. And he wrestled with Messiah. Messiah let him fight. You have to understand, this is the same Messiah that stood before Joshua on the mountain with his sword drawn, okay, many years later. And Joshua was so scared, he said, are you for us or for the adversaries? And he said, nay, but as captain of the host of Yahweh am I now come. See, his name was Mikael, which means one like Yahweh, one like the Most High. He would say, as captain of the host of Yahweh am I now come. So this is a warrior, okay? Messiah is really a warrior. He's a commander of hosts of armies of the Father. So he could destroy Jacob with just one touch if he wanted to, but he let Jacob wrestle it out. And at the end, Jacob realized he had no strength against this mysterious being. And Messiah, Mikael, just touched this joint of his leg and broke his leg. Now he knew he had no shot. And now he knew who he was wrestling with. And Messiah said, let me go, man. I got to go. Testing him. Just like he's going, brothers and sisters, we all are getting tested right now. And you're going to be tested even more. We're not going to be skipping into the kingdom, Jacob limping into it. You think we're going to get any better? Listen, I don't want to scare y'all because I want to tell you the grace and power of the righteousness of the Father is more to overcome anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But I want to say to you, the Job experience is mine and yours to come. I just got to be honest. That's what's coming. That's what's coming. Okay. But the Father will prepare us through Messiah for it, just like Jacob. So Jacob said, I won't let you go until you bless me. I need, what he was saying really was, I need assurance that you're still with me. And he said, okay, what is your name? Jacob. No, your name's not going to be Jacob anymore. Your name is going to be Yashar Al. Yes, we say Israel in English, but it's Yashar Al. Why? Yashar, to be made right, to be right with. Yashar. Al, the Most High, to be right with the Most High. That's what Israel means. See, people think it means prince because he said, as a prince, you overcome. No, 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 no. Yashar Al is more descriptive of what happened. He was begging for forgiveness, and the Father sent him the word. Me and you good, man. That's what he said. Me and you good. Yashar Al is your new name. You're right with the Most High. Okay. And that's what we're going to be dealing with. Because see, brethren, it comes down to this. Do you love the Father? Do you know him? Have you asked him to show himself to you? Because he will. Show me yourself. Show me your spirit. Show me your righteousness. Show me your truth. Guide my steps. He will do it. He will manifest himself to you. And when he does, he wants you to learn to trust him. And then what ends up happening when you surrender to the Father, you're saying to the Father, you're the only God. I don't want to be a God. I don't need that glory. You're the only God. You give me the grace. You've forgiven me through Messiah. You've forgiven me. You're the only God. And when you say that, now he's with you. He's with you. Okay. And you got to be tested to your core on whether you mean it or not, as Jacob was. And all of us are going to be. We're in the time right now, Earth's history. All of us are going to be. So that when Messiah left him that day, he was not scared of his brother anymore. He had assurance. His leg was broke out of joint. But that was the sign, okay, that his father loved him, was going to be with him, and had forgiven him. So now he didn't care. He was good. He was good. He still had respect to his brother because he knew he did him wrong. But his brother's heart was now changed. It was changed by the Father in heaven. So that he wasn't going to kill. He came there to kill him. But now he wasn't going to, because now he had the Bible said when you with the Most High, even your enemies will be at peace with you when he's with you. Okay, and here come Esau. Esau couldn't do nothing with him. Just like today, when we are returning to our God, Esau won't be able to do nothing with us. Remember that. Okay, wait. For it shall come to pass in that day, verse 8, saith Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck. See, I'm going to break the burden off your neck that you've been in your enemy's land and they had that burden on us all of our lives and all the lives of our fathers for centuries, literally. I'm going to break his yoke from off thy neck and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve Yahweh their Most High, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yahweh, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Watch this, though. For I am with thee, saith Yahweh, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee. He's going to make a full end of all these nations. Did I tell you? Violent overthrow, revolution. But I will not make a full end of thee. But I will correct thee in measure, will not leave thee altogether unpunished. See, so they getting ready to catch what we caught, but double. Bible says double unto her. See, so I need to give you that background so you understand the world is lying to us. Every aspect of the world is a lie. But Father Yah is truth. His word is truth. Messiah is truth. His spirit is truth. We don't need a denomination or a church or a building. We got our Father. And he sent us Messiah. So that Messiah speaks to us through the Father, speaks to us through Messiah. Father speaks to us through the Messiah. And then when we surrender to our Messiah, the Hebrew one, he brings us back to our Father. It's a beautiful thing, man. Revelation chapter 13. So we ended up with the beast in Revelation 13. We said beast is a government or a kingdom. The woman that rides her is the religious power of the Roman church and Christianity that will ride the beast. The beast itself is a world government. It's a world government. And it's now, as you don't realize, and most people don't realize, it's here already. It's just disguised. When you're looking at the United Nations, you're looking at one of the headquarters of the world government. because all the members answer to each other in the world. And when the Pope comes there, when he shows up to the United Nations to speak, they stop everything. They let him speak, man. He interrupts everything because he is the head, really. And the United States comes behind him, and the United States does his bidding there. See? The United States does his bidding. All right. So, like, after 9/11, right? The United States wanted war with Iraq. Now, Iraq didn't do anything on 9/11, but this was a personal vendetta between the Bushes and Saddam Hussein, who they used to pay and train, by the way. And plus, it was about the oil, obviously, right? The oil too, so they can get rich. Not they're gonna pass that on to us, but they, like I said, they never have enough. So that's what that was about. And so they had a vote in the UN, and every nation in the UN knew, their leaders, their reps knew that if they did not vote for that war, they were going to have a problem. And so there's this country that enslaves Hebrews, by the way, called Yemen. They got, even right now, as I'm speaking to you, there's enslaved Hebrews there. Okay. Yemen voted against going to war. And the United States rep went to the Yemenese rep and said to him, that's going to cost you. That's the worst vote you ever did. That's the worst thing you ever did in the existence of your country. That's going to cost you. Because all the countries know that the United States is the strong arm right there. Okay, that's the brute. That's the leg breaker. He coming for his representative, which is in Rome, and he's the leg breaker. Okay, so that's what we already got, the one world government. I already give you a hint already about who the leg breaker is for Rome. Let's read about it. Revelation chapter 13. Now, whereas the first beast we saw come up out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns and crowns on his horns. Okay, watch the second beast. Revelation chapter 13, beginning at verse, I'm going to start at verse 8 again and go down to verse 11 where we're already headed now. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, that is the beast, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Didn't I tell you? See? He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Okay? So whatever they have inflicted on Israel is going to come back on them. And in the course, when we get to Revelation 18, you will see it's going to come back on them double time. Okay? Okay. Verse 11. And I beheld another beast. So wait, he said, I beheld, I'm seeing another beast. This is John. Remember now, this is John the Revelator. He's on the island of Patmos. Don't forget that. He's on the island of Patmos. And he saw Messiah in the holy place. And he's seen a lot of things on that island since then, right? We see as we went through this scripture here. Okay. So now he saw this crazy beast we saw in Revelation 13:1, and now he's seeing, and that blew him away, right? So now he's seeing a second beast come up. But watch this one now. And I beheld another beast. That's another government. Okay, so you have the world government of Rome. Now he sees a second kingdom, a second government. Watch now. Coming up out of the earth. Whereas the first one came up out of the sea, the second one comes up out of the earth. Okay. He had 2 horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. So this government that he's looking at didn't come out of the sea like the 4 beasts of Daniel or the one in Revelation 13. This one comes up out of the earth, and wait, he looked like a lamb. So let's talk about the lamb and the earth for a minute. And in Isaiah, it kind of describes that situation. Watch. In Isaiah chapter 53. Watch what it says. Isaiah chapter 53, beginning at verse 1 and 2. Isaiah 53, 1 and 2. Remember, this beast looked like a lamb. Who hath believed our report? To whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of a dry ground, coming up out of what? The earth. He hath no form or comeliness. When we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. So think about this now. You always have, listen, a counterfeit. The Father is the truth, but Asatan always creates a counterfeit. Asatan can create lies and murder, but he can't create like the Father. He can't create a human being. He can't be God. He wants to be. That's why he tells man he could be a God, and he can't do anything but he tries to copy it and pervert it. Okay? Father gave us marriage. Asatan gave us fornication and adultery. Father gave us the seventh day Sabbath. Asatan gave us Sunday. See? So there's always a counterfeit. So here, let's go back to now, Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. He looked like a lamb. And he spake as a dragon. So in other words, the covering of the lamb was fake. What was inside him was the dragon. So that he's deceiving somebody that looks like him. Somebody that looks at him says, oh, I see the lamb. But it's really the dragon. He come up out of a root, out of a dry ground. What does that mean? What does it mean in terms of Messiah? Well, let's think about this. How did Messiah arrive on the earth? How did he arrive, and what was the fanfare? What was the situation? So look, there came wise men from the east. They saw his star, right? And they said, we come to worship he that is born King of the Jews, right? But then Herod tried to kill him, right? So now after Herod tries to kill him, before that happened, the angel came to Joseph and said, take the young child and his mother and flee to Egypt and stay there until I call you back. The next time you see Messiah, he's 12 years old and he's teaching in the temple. Then his mother and father come to him and say, what you doing? You left us hanging like that. And he said, you don't understand, I have to be about my father's business. And they took him back home. And the Bible says he stayed there. You never hear nothing about him again until he's 30 years old. So it was like he went into obscurity, right? You didn't hear nothing about him again. And then 30 years, he's 30 years old. He comes to John the Baptist to get baptized. And only John, by the Spirit of the Father, recognizes who he is. And they were cousins. You know, John and Messiah were cousins. Okay. But they never met before. And so that day, John realized that this was Messiah. And John called him what? The Lamb of the Most High that takes away the sins of the world. He called him the Lamb of Yah. And every time he saw him up there, he would say, there's the Lamb of Yah. So the lamb symbol, both as the sacrifice in Leviticus, as well as what John saw was representing Messiah. So here you have a country, a nation, a kingdom that's coming up that claims to represent Messiah. But they're lying because they're really a dragon. You got me? And just like Messiah, they don't come up with fanfare. They come up out of obscurity. Like, in other words, nobody knew they were going to grow into what they became. What nation come up out of obscurity on the world stage that claims to represent Messiah, but the actual words and actions are actually the dragon? There's only one. See how I told you? The Most High gives you the description and then shows you there's only one out there that would fit that description. That's the United States of America. Okay, that's the United States. It claims to represent the Lamb, except what did it do? It came in the form of Christianity to represent the Lamb, right? Came in the form of Christianity. That's the calling card of the United States. Matter of fact, you have been hearing a lot of leaders for many decades and even centuries that will say to you, what America is a Christian nation. Does it not say that? America, do they not tell you that America is a Christian nation? Claiming to represent the Lamb, but underneath, there's regime change wars, there's drug dealing, there's murder, There's oppression underneath. There's lies and lies and lies. There's the dragon. Okay? There's the dragon. You understand? So here we have first the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns that had the different animals, bear, lion, leopard, right? And the 10 horns. That's the Roman woman riding a world government. But now you have a second power that rose up. After this one, a second power rose up. This was the United States of America. And just as we know, the United States of America did indeed rise up after Rome. Okay? Okay, let's continue. What about this United States? Revelation 13, verse 12. Watch carefully. And he that is the lamb-like beast, I'm going to say this quite often because I don't want you to get lost about what it's talking about. And he that is the lamb-like beast, which is the United States of America. So from now on, I'm just going to say the United States of America so that you understand what we're talking about, okay? And he, the United States of America, exercises all the power of the first beast, the Roman church, before him. Now, if you look up in the Greek, that's that phrase, before him. It's not just that first country, that first state government existed before the United States. It's not just that. It's that it's supervisory. See, when it says before him, it's showing you a supervisory role of the first beast. It's like he exercises all the power of the first beast who supervises him. See what I'm saying? It gives you a different context. See? So this one is supervising. He's being supervised by the 7-headed one. And he exercises power on behalf of the first one. That's why I say you're looking at, the leg breaker. See? When you owe the mob money, you went and you borrowed 20,000 and you getting charged, 3% interest a week or whatever, and you don't pay, they'll warn you. They'll take stuff from you, but eventually, if you don't pay, you're going to get hurt. And it's not emotional. You're going to get hurt. The leg breakers are coming. Okay? And so that's what the United States role is. He exercises all the power of the first beast who supervises him. All right? So far, so good? All right? All right. Let's continue. Okay, verse 12. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and watch this now, causes the earth. Now, before I continue, I'm going real slow because I want you to catch every little morsel of this. Causes the earth. So in order for a nation to make the entire world do anything, that nation has to have power over the whole world. Does that make sense to you? So in other words, in order for any nation to say, I'm going to cause the earth to do whatever, we're going to see what it is. That nation that has that power has power over the earth. So let's think about what we got here. We have a nation that rose out of obscurity. Okay? It represents another entity. It's being supervised by another entity. And it has world influence. It has world influence. So it can cause the earth to do stuff. It can command the earth to do stuff because it has world influence. Again, we know now we're only talking about one nation, right? You understand this is the United States of America. So he causes the earth to do something, meaning he has power over the earth. That, if you recall, like, for example, in fact, let me show you real quick. In the book of Luke, chapter 3. Watch this, book of Luke, chapter 3. No, chapter 2. I'm sorry. Luke chapter 2. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Luke chapter 2. Watch what it says here in Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2, verses 1, 2, and 3. Okay, watch this. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor in Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city. So now, if you didn't know that Rome was a world power, right? You know it there because it says that Caesar said that the whole world was going to be taxed, and it was. See, so that makes you understand that Rome was a world power. It wasn't just a local power. It wasn't like the Mali Empire in West Africa that had power in that continent, right? Or the Ghanaian Empire, or even any of the Chinese dynasties. It wasn't like that. This is a world power because it can go into other nations and say, "Give us money." It can go to Israel and say, "Give us money," and Israel going to give them money, right? So it said, he said, all the world. So here in Revelation 13, here we are again. He causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. This is at least the third time in this chapter that the word worship is mentioned. You understand? This is the third time. First, it said, verse 4, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And then verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall what? Worship him. And here we are again in verse 12, and he causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. That's the fourth time. So you have to understand, this is not about a computer chip. This is about a government that causes worship. A government that causes worship of the dragon. The dragon gives the first one power, seat, and authority. And the dragon is actually inside the second one. Okay? And he's looking for what? He's looking for worship. Now, let me explain this one thing to you now. You don't have to actually say, I'm worshiping Satan to worship Satan. All you have to do is not worship Yahweh. That's all you have to do. Okay? By not worshiping the only true God, you have already made your choice. That's why Paul says in the book of Romans, you're either obedience unto righteousness or sin unto death. You can't be in the middle. No human being is in the middle. Okay? So if you're not worshiping the only true God and his only true Hebrew Messiah, you are worshiping the devil. Period. And that's what I'm saying. It's hard for people that are Baptist or Catholic or Seventh-day Adventist or Mormon or Muslim to understand this. It's hard for him to understand that listen, if you're not following the truth, you are with Asatan. Why? And I'm not talking people that, like, again, I mentioned Malcolm X. I mentioned Fred Hampton. I mentioned Khalid Muhammad. And brethren, I believe these men are going to be saved. Not because they understood what we understand now, because they were sincere in what they wanted to worship. They had no agenda except righteousness. Their problem was just that they were ignorant. And that's not a problem when you're sincere. Okay? That was their problem. But there are people that will have truth connected to them or given to them, and they will see that what they're following is wrong. And because of tradition, because of what people might think, because of their family history, they don't want to leave the line. You are on the wrong side. Father's not having liars in the kingdom. Okay, he's just not. And so when he brings the truth of righteousness to our heart, that's the decision of the human element. The human individual must decide, will I follow this truth or not? Now, he's patient. Father is patient. It's not a one-time thing. He's born with me for a long time, decades, man. So I know he's patient. It's not like he's just going to give you this one time and say, well, take it or leave it and you're lost. It's not like that. That's Christianity, heaven or hell, which side are you going on? No. He's going to work with you. He's going to show you why what you're believing is wrong. He's going to show you if you want to know. But what ends up happening in our day and age, people hide themselves, they take their head and shove it into their behind. I know that sounds cruel, but that's the way it is. They take their head and put it high up in their behind so that they can't see or hear. Because they know if they could see or hear, they might see or hear something that will make them make a decision. But what they don't understand is by putting their head up in their behind, they've already made the decision. You've already made the decision. Because that's called willful ignorance. Willful ignorance that's a pretty bad thing. That's where you get set up to believe the lie because you refuse to believe the truth. It's different, brethren. I'm gonna tell you, there've been truths that the Most High showed me, and I'm sure you guys who are out here that's following truth, that's following the faith of true, perfect righteousness, y'all understand what I'm about to say. Almost everything He's given me in my life, I wrestle with, man. It ain't like I decided, you know what, I'm going to leave the SDA church. My great-grandfather was a Maroon. Those that are from Jamaica know what I'm talking about. My great-grandfather was a Maroon in Jamaica. We're proud people. And I knew that he was a Maroon. And you know what else? I was like, I'm fourth generation SDA. My great-grandfather became an SDA in Jamaica in 1895. So it wasn't like I said, I'm going to leave the God of my fathers. I'm going to leave this church because man, no, it was a wrestling match. I had to wrestle with the truth. And I got to the point in my wrestling where I decided I'm going to go through this Bible, man. And I'm going to test everything I was taught against these words. And whatever stands, stands. Whatever doesn't, doesn't. Since that day, the Most High has been showing me so many things and bringing me to different heights of righteousness, man, in spirit and truth. I had to wrestle with it, though. Okay? Everything. And man, my poor wife, man. Whenever I would be convicted something, I'd share it with her. I would never try to force my family to follow my convictions. But my conviction was so strong, it would convict them. Okay. And I would never force them. Like there was a time, it was 2004. To cleanse my spirit, to cleanse my mind, I went on a diet where I just ate raw food. That's all I would eat. Raw fruits and vegetables. That's it. And I would still, that's not true. Sometimes I would get twice baked bread or I would put olive oil on my salads. But other than that, it was just raw fruits and vegetables, smoothies, salads. I did it. And my wife was mad because she would cook stuff. She makes stuff and I wouldn't eat it. It had to be raw. And I was not going to, my children would watch me eat the raw fruits and vegetables. They saw me lose weight. They saw me get energy. Then all of a sudden one day my daughter came to me and said, Daddy, how do you do that? I said, this is how you do it. And I just showed her and she started doing it. See? And then my wife came and said, okay, let me try that. Then I had the whole house doing it. I ain't have to force anybody. And everything he had convicted me, I would just, I'd wrestle with it and then I'd do it. Right. And so it's a wrestling match. It's a baby Jacob situation for all of us every time when he shows you the truth. Okay. So that's why the Father will have no sympathy for people that willful, ignorantly deny the truth or even speak against it just to justify themselves. He's not going to have no sympathy for you because of all of us and people before us, like Moses and all the prophets that had to wrestle to take their stand for the truth, even if it's by themselves. He's not going to have no sympathy for you. Neither should he. But those that are just honestly ignorant, like a Malcolm, like a Fred, and you can see, all you got to do is listen to them. When you listen to them, brothers, you know they're sincere. The Spirit tells you they're sincere. Okay? The Spirit tells you they're sincere. You stand up and see Fred Hampton say, I am a revolutionary, and you know he's sincere. He's not trying to front. Fred Hampton wasn't getting rich under Black Panthers. You see? So that the Most High respects that, man. He respects that sincerity and love for righteousness. But he doesn't respect willful ignorance. He doesn't. And lies, we know he hates. And he's going to destroy it. So here we have a country that was built on the power of lies, that set itself up in a suit that looks like a lamb, and really it's a dragon. And they want to influence the earth to give honor to the world government and the woman that rides it, which is representing Christianity. Rome is the representative of Christianity. And let me ask you a question. Do not all of these Christian churches send their missionaries to places? You would think, these Christian churches sending their missionaries to places like Peru or to West Africa or to Colombia. You think these countries, the people live in huts. You think that because they say they third world, that they live in huts, and they just so heathen, they need white Jesus. And these countries be sending them people every year. That's the world being taught to follow the beast. And it says, and they cause the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast who supervises him. Okay? The black church especially. You say, what? Yeah, the black church especially. See, it started out like this in slavery. Slaves were not allowed to learn how to read. Only the preacher. And that was sometimes they would let him learn how to read. And they would give him the text that would appear to substantiate their evil ways of slavery. Okay? But what ended up happening after a while is the slaves would use their get-togethers to sing codes about if they were going to run away, about what time, swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. That was code. Y'all getting ready to run. Some people get ready to go. Okay? And so they would do that, and that's how you had a black church. But really what they were doing, they were using it to give each other messages in code. But then later on, the preachers were bought and sold, and they controlled the people for white Jesus and for that whole system. Okay? Then you had some brothers, again, like a Marcus Garvey, a Malcolm X, that rejected that and went running wherever that wasn't existing. See? They believe anything Elijah Muhammad said if it wasn't white Jesus and Christianity, because they knew they were being sold a bill of goods. Okay? So now the black church is just a manipulation, mind control machine of black people. That's all it is. That's all it is. And they use this, we have a history and a tradition. I don't think that's going to save us. History and tradition. I don't care what your granddaddy did. He might have just been ignorant, just like Malcolm was. Like my great grandfather was. Okay? But the Most High now commands men everywhere to repent. Now, I'm going to stop here at verse 12. I'm going to read it one more time. I'm going to read 11 and 12 one more time. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. In fact, let me read it the way I told you. And I beheld, watch now, and I beheld the United States of America coming up out of the earth. And it had two horns like a Jesus, but it spake like the devil. And the United States of America exercises all the power of Rome, which supervises it. And the United States of America causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the Christianity of Rome, who had the deadly wound and was healed. I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I'm going to leave it right there for tonight. Okay? I'm going to leave it there. And I just ask you one thing. Go pray to your Father in heaven, your Creator. Ask the Creator for his spirit of righteousness and truth to guide you and direct your paths and give you the courage and grace to stand on the truth that he shows you. And I pray that all of us that do that will stand with my Father, with Messiah, with the four beasts and the 24 elders and all the redeemed on the sea of glass, right before the violent overthrow of this system. Shalom.